distant mountains floated in the sky as ancient cities. And often the whole white world would dissolve into a gold, silver, and scarlet land of Dunsany and dreams. An adventurous expectancy under the magic of the low midnight sun. On cloudy days, we had considerable trouble when flying, owing to the tendency of snowy earth and sky to merge into one mystical, opalescent void with no visible horizon to mark the junction of the two. At length, we resolved to carry out our original plan of flying 500 miles eastward with all 4 exploring planes and establishing a fresh sub-base at a point which would probably be on the smaller continent division. As we mistakenly conceived it, geological specimens obtaining there would be desirable for purposes of comparison. Our health so far remained excellent, lime juice well offsetting the steady diet of tinned and salted food. The temperature is generally above zero, enabling us to do without our pigless furs. It was now midsummer, and with haste and care we might be able to conclude work by March and avoid a tedious wintering through the long Antarctic night. Several savage windstorms had burst upon us from the west, but we had escaped damage through the skill of Atwood in devising rudimentary airplane shelters and windbreaks of heavy snow blocks, and reinforcing the principal Kemp's building with snow. Our good luck and efficiency had indeed been almost uncanny. The outside world knew, of course, of our program and was told also of Lake's strange and dogged insistence on westward, or rather northwestward, prospecting trip before our radical shift to the new base. It seems he had pondered a great deal, and with alarmingly radical daring, over that triangular striated marking in the late slate, reading into it certain contradictions in nature and geological period which whetted his curiosity to the utmost, and made him avid to sink more borings and blastings into the west stretching formation to which the exhumed fragments evidently belonged. He was strangely convinced that the marking was the print of some bulky, unknown, and radically unclassifiable organism of considerably advanced evolution, notwithstanding that the rock which bore it was of so vastly ancient a date, Cambrian if not actually Precambrian, as to preclude the probable existence of not only of all highly evolved life, but of any life at all above the unicellular or at most the trilobite stage. These fragments, with their odd marking, must have been 500 million to 1,000 million years old. Two. Popular imagination, I judge, responded actively to our wireless bulletins of lakes start northwestward into regions never trodden by human foot or penetrated by human imagination. Though we did not mention his wild hopes of revolutionizing the entire species of the sciences of biology and geology. His preliminary sledging and boring journey of January 11th to the 18th with Pabody and 5 others, marred by the loss of 2 dogs in an upset when crossing one of the great pressure bridges in the ice had brought up more and more of the Arcanian slate, and even I was interested by the singular profusion of evident fossil markings in the unbelievably ancient stratum. These markings, however, were of very primitive life forms involving no great paradox except that any life form should occur in rock is definitely Precambrian, as this seemed to be. Hence, I still fail to see the good sense of Lake's demand for an interlude in our time-saving program. An interlude requiring the use of all 4 planes, many men, and the whole of the expedition's mechanical apparatus. I did not in the end veto the plan, though I decided not to accompany the northwestward party despite Lake's plea for my geological advice. While they were gone, I would remain at the base with Pabity and 5 men and work out final plans for the eastward shift. In preparation for this transfer, one of the planes had begun to move up a good gasoline supply from McMurdo Sound, but this could wait temporarily. I kept with me 1 sledge and 9 dogs, and since it is unwise to be at any time without possible transportation, in an utterly tenantless world of eon-long death. Lake's sub-expedition into the unknown, as well as everyone will recall, sent out its own reports from the shortwave transmitters on the plane, these being simultaneously pulled up by our apparatus at the southern base and by the Arkham at McMurdo Sound, whence they were relayed to the outside world on wavelengths of up to 50 meters. The start was made January 22nd at 4 a.m., and the first wireless message we received came only 2 hours later, when Lake spoke of descending and starting a small-scale ice melting in water at some point some 300 miles away from us. 6 hours after that, a second and very excited message told of the frantic beaver-like work whereby a shallow shaft had been sunk and blasted, culminating in the discovery of slate fragments with several markings approximately like the one which had caused the original puzzlement. 3 hours later, a brief bulletin announced that the resumption of the flight in the teeth of a raw and piercing gale, and when I dispatched a message of protest against further hazards, Lake replied curtly that his new specimens made any hazard worth taking. I saw his excitement that had reached the point of mutiny, and that I could do nothing to check this headlong risk of the whole expedition's success. But it was appalling to think of his plunging deeper and deeper into that treacherous and sinister white immensity of tempests and unfathomed mysteries, which stretched off some 1,500 miles to the half-known, half-suspected coastline of the Queen Mary and Knox Islands. Knox Lands. Then, in about an hour and a half or more, came that doubly excited message from Lake's moving plane, which almost reversed my sentiments and made me wish I had accompanied the party. 10:05 p.m. on the wing. After snowstorm. Have spied mountain range ahead higher than any hitherto seen. May equal Himalayas, allowing for a height of plateau. Probable latitude 76 degrees by 15. Longitude 113 by 10 east. Reaches far as can see to the right and left. Suspicion of 2 smoking cones. All peaks black and bare of snow. Gale blowing off them impedes navigation. After that Pavity, the men and I hung breathlessly over the receiver. The thought of this titanic mountain rampart 700 miles away inflamed our deepest sense of adventure. And we rejoiced that our expedition, if not ourselves, personally had been its discoverers. And half an hour late called us again. Moulton's plane, forced down on plateau and foothills, but nobody hurt and perhaps can repair. Shall transfer essentials to other three for return or further moves if necessary, but no more heavy plane travel needed just now. Mountains surpass anything in imagination. I'm going up scouting in Carroll's plane with all weight out. You can't imagine anything like this. Highest peaks must go over 35,000 feet. Everest out of the running. Atwood to work up out height with theodolite while Carroll and I go up. Probably wrong about cones, and formations look stratified. Possibly Precambrian state with other strata mixed in. Queer skyline effects. Regular sections of cubes clinging to highest peaks. The whole thing was marvelous. In red gold light of low sun. Like land of mystery and a dream or gateway to a forbidden world of untrodden wonder. Wish you were here to study. Though it was technically sleeping time, not one of us listeners thought for a moment of retiring. It must have been a good deal for the same at McMurdo Sound, where the supply cache and the Arkham were also getting messages. For Captain Douglas gave out a call congratulating everybody on the important find, and Sherman, the cache operator, seconded his sentiments. We were sorry, of course, about the damaged airplane, but we were hoping it could be easily mended. Then at 11 p.m. came another call from Lake. Up with Carroll over highest foothills. Don't dare try to really tall peaks in present weather, but shall later. Frightful work climbing and hard getting going at this altitude, but worth it. Great range is fairly solid, hence can't get glimpses beyond. Main summits exceeding Himalayas and very queer. Range looks like Precambrian slate, with plain sights of many other upheaved strata. Was wrong about volcanism. Goes up farther than either direction than we can see. Swept clear of snow above 21,000 feet. Odd formations on slopes of highest mountains. Great low square blocks with exactly vertical sides and rectangular lines of low vertical ramparts, like the old Asian castles clinging to steep mountains and Warwick's pinions. Impressive from distance, flew close to some, and Carroll thought they were formed of smaller separate pieces, but that is probably why they're in. Most edges crumbled and rotted off as if exposed to storms and climate changes for millions of years. Parts, especially upper parts, seem to be of a lightly colored rock than any visible strata on the slopes proper. Hence an evidently crystalline origin. Close find shows many cave mouths. Some usually regular and outline, square, or semi-circular. You must come and investigate. I think I saw ramparts squarely on top of one peak. Height seems to be about 30,000 to 35,000 feet. I'm up 21,500 myself, and devilish gnawing cold. Wind whistles and pipes through passes in and out of caves, but no flying danger so far.